Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be giving you my Cancer 2022 horoscope forecast. Of course, Cancer, the zodiac sign, and yes, it does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Anyway, first thing off, I'm going to talk about transits of Jupiter and how it relates to the zodiac sign Cancer for 2022. Now, transit Jupiter will be in Pisces and Aries during 2022. Now, as far as the time when it's in Pisces, well, of course, this can manifest in a number of ways. You could have, it could be very fortuitous for Pisces-related publishing. It could be something with, because the ninth house is what's going to be emphasized and highlighted for Cancer at this time, it could be very fortuitous for could be publishing and Pisces, something Pisces related, which could be the metaphysical, which is associated with astrology, or something associated with poetry or dancing or photography, or even it could be something regarding dreams or fantasies that you may write about, or could be fantasy type of publishing, writing fantasy novel, fictional, something fictional. It could be a time as well. Remember that Jupiter, talked about in previous videos, Jupiter could be very paradoxical, could be very strongly benign and benevolent, but it could also have a tendency to enlarge and expand. It might be where it might be enlarging matters with sacrifice, with in-laws, with grandchildren at this point in time. And you might also be very exuberant and enthusiastic regarding maybe taking that fantasy long distance journey at this time. Now, could also be too where when you have this transit, and again where Jupiter was being in Pisces and the ninth house being emphasized and highlighted for Cancer for 2022. Another way it could be expressed is that understanding the truth about maybe could be deceptive or duplicitous foreigners. Jupiter is connected with the truth and veracity, and it might be maybe people that are your foreign relationship with, or could be, to say foreign relationship. What I'm saying is it could be a friendship, for example, with somebody that maybe that could be a foreigner. It could also be a time too where Jupiter is about prosperity, and it could be by doing something Pisces related from a foreign country, whether it could be doing again poetry, could be dancing, something with photography. It could be working on boating, working on docks is another example. Ninth house is also connected with importing and exporting, and it could be something where, again, you could be. This could be about prosperity. Jupiter is about prosperity, and Pisces could be associated with what may be unattainable. Now, some of you, Cancer people, you might actually have this transit in the 10th house. For part of the transit, with Placidus house system, you could have many Cancer ascendant people that have Pisces on the midheaven, and you may be experiencing this in the 10th house, at least for part of the transit, and of course that could be very fortuitous and auspicious for career-related matters. That could be Pisces-related, whether it could be, again, going to poetry, dancing, anesthesiology, photography, the metaphysical, which includes astrology, doing something with special effects. And the other thing, too, is, and also could be very auspicious for matters with the dominant parent and authority figures, which dominant parent is often the father, and it could be where it could be matters just regarding just compassion, or being whether it could be associated with sacrificing, because Pisces is associated with that altruism, and also very good for your public and reputation as well. Excuse me. And it could be one for, since we're talking about the zodiac sign Pisces, it could be something, again, by being very altruistic, compassionate, forgiving, sacrificing, being very idealistic, um, inspirational as well, I would say. Now, Jupiter, again, is going to be in Aries for part of 2022. Now, when it's in Aries, the 10th house is what is emphasized and highlighted for Cancer. So this can also be, it could be very positive and auspicious transit for having the courage and the fortitude in career-related matters, or even, it could even be standing up and to maybe an authority figure. If the authority figure you feel, has not been giving you the respect that you've been entitled to, this could be that time where you may be able to stand up to the person and not really do so in a way where you don't have many, really any repercussions, perhaps. And the thing about this too is, keep in mind, Jupiter is about prosperity. 10th house is the career, so it could also be very auspicious for perhaps an Aries related career. It could be something with welding or carpentry or firefighting, combat sport. It could be working as in speech therapy, and also it could increase and enlarge drive and motivation to attain success at this time, to gain notoriety and recognition. The and also too, as I've talked about previous videos, and I'll say it again, that Jupiter, I believe I said it earlier in the video, that Jupiter could be very paradoxical, could be very strongly benign and benevolent, but could also have a tendency to enlarge and expand. And it might enlarge in contentious situations with authority figures, the dominant parent, which is often the father, and also in even older people in general. And the thing about this too is, but it could also be very lucky and fortunate for showing leadership prowess and ability. The 10th house can be an energy, the side where it's very difficult to hide or suppress from others. So on the positive end, it can be somebody that it might be a time where you may be able to show that leadership prowess and ability at this time, and it might be beneficial for you as well. And also too, Jupiter, the planet itself is associated with publishing and advertising, religion, philosophy. So these could all be things which could be very beneficial and prosperous as far as a career would go in 2022. Now going to Saturn. Well, Saturn's going to be in Aquarius during 2022. The 8th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for the zodiac sign Cancer. And it can be a time, this is another thing, of course, could manifest in a number of ways. This could be about, it could simply be having more responsibilities, doing something computer, electronic related, which is associated with taxes, tax filing. If you haven't done so before, this might be, doing something where you've shown. Saturn can also be about difficulties, and it can be about chronic issues, keep in mind. And Aquarius is associated with the ankles, the shins, the calves, nerves, and circulation. The 8th house is the house of surgery. So let's say if you're having this transit and it's making an inconjunct aspect, especially to your ascendant from your 8th house, in some cases it may manifest in that you may experience the death of an older person. It could be a friend, because Saturn is associated with older people. Aquarius is associated with friends and friendships. You might feel at this time where you might be experiencing some limitations and restrictions in moral, emotional, and monetary support. It could be from friends, from groups, clubs, organizations, because that's what's associated with the zodiac sign Aquarius. Sometimes the libido might be limited at this time. The 8th house is associated with sex. It could be where there's more responsibility toward intimate relationships. It could even be a shared resources situation. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, yes, again, it could be where you might be dealing with restrictions. It could be more. It could even be more responsibility in a shared resources situation, where you might be expressing, helping the other person out with more being very selfless and altruistic. Another thing as well is that during this transit, and again the eighth house will be emphasized and highlighted as far as Saturn and Aquarius goes for the zodiac sign Cancer for 2022. And it might even be where there might be more despondency, in eighth house related issues, whether it's support, whether moral, emotional, monetary support, or if you're trying to deal with a crisis at this time. Older people might figure more prominently in you dealing with crisis situations at this time, more so than usual. And those are some ways that this transit can manifest. Now, some of you Cancerians have you have this in the seventh house for at least part of the transit. Those of you, especially with the late Cancer Ascendant, or in your solar chart, you have the Cancer, the first house cusp of Cancer is late degree. Then you would have the transit of Saturn and Aquarius in your seventh house for some time, at least during 2022. And the thing is, that could manifest in restrictions and limitations in your relationships, or there may be more difficulties with open adversaries. You might be dealing with older people that are open enemies at this time, and being an Aquarius, maybe they're Aquarius Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or simply embody those characteristics. Now, another thing is that Jupiter is in going to be, Uranus is going to be in Taurus during 2022 still. So the 11th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for the zodiac sign Cancer. So this could be expressed in a number of ways. It could be we're very loyal and stable. Friendships might be figure prominently in your goals and aspirations at this time. You could be. It could be also a time where maybe friendships might be a little bit more unpredictable at this time. It may be a time too where you could be involved in some kind of Uranus goal or aspiration. Maybe pursuing a Uranus goal or aspiration. It could be something with astrology or astronomy or meteorology, aviation, computers, electronics as some examples, and doing it with a lot of Taurian persistence and tenacity as well. And also too, during this time, it can be a time as well where Uranus is also can be very erratic and sporadic energy, and it might be where you got to be careful where friendships might be a little bit unstable, even though Uranus is in Taurus. The fact that you're talking about Uranus being the planet of instability, it can be a time where these friendships might be a little more unstable than usual, more unpredictable than they ordinarily are. But at the same time, you might require more freedom and independence from them during this time, and also in matters with groups, clubs, and organizations as well. And these are some ways that this could, for the zodiac sign Cancer, this could manifest, could be expressed that way during this time. And you might be experiencing more bizarre behavior from these people, and even stepchildren, if applicable, if you have any. They might be experiencing, they might be more acting more an unusual way or unpredictable manner at this time. And anyway, now Neptune's going to continue to be in Pisces, of course. So for the zodiac sign Cancer, the ninth house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, well, it can be where maybe perhaps grandchildren, in-laws may be more nebulous and unclear than usual. Perhaps there's an interest in some Neptune/Pisces college education. Of course, it could be doing something with poetry or dancing or anesthesiology, special effects. Maybe perhaps the metaphysical, which includes astrology, maybe photography, as some examples. And in-laws and grandchildren, so you have to be careful. They could be more deceptive or duplicitous or more nebulous and unclear at this time. You also have to, the ninth house is also connected with publishing, so you might express a lot of idealism and be very inspired to do something as far as publishing goes at this time. It might be also as well, keep in mind that Neptune is also connected with what is, in Neptune and Pisces. Neptune can be about, these diseases. Pisces are ones that can't be eradicated. Now, COVID has a vaccine, of course, for it, but it's not 100% effective. You could still argue that the COVID is a disease that is not completely eradicated, that can't be completely eradicated. So be careful during this time. If you're traveling to a foreign country, Cancer, if you're as far as contracting this, perhaps during this time, there may be more. I would say there'd be a greater propensity for that, more so than usual at this time. And another thing too is that guard against dealing with perhaps deceptive or people that are deceptive or duplicitous in religious congregations that are just trying to just say get your money, or they're teaching a false fallacious doctrine at this time and being taken in by this at this time. So anyway, and some of you Cancerians will have the transit of Neptune in the 10th house during this time. Many people that have a Cancer Ascendant have Pisces on the midheaven. And just be, at this time, Cancer, just be wary of dealing with perhaps older people, authority figures that are deceptive or duplicitous, or just constantly trying to overlook the transgressions and defaults of these people, and being able to see who they really are, at the time of this transit. And but you may be very inspired toward career-related matters at this time as well. But Neptune, keep in mind, is also about dissolving and dissipation. So it might be a time, for some reason, where a career might be gradually dissolving or dissipating, or maybe there was some responsibilities you had where that's taking place, and which could maybe be a good thing, where these responsibilities might be gradually coming to an end during the time of this transit. But remember, the 10th house is also the public image and reputation, so it can be where you may be more susceptible to something deceptive that might be impacting your your public image and reputation during the time of this transit. But anyway, now going to Pluto. Well, Pluto will be still be in Capricorn. So for many, a lot of the 7th house is what's going to be emphasized and highlighted for the zodiac sign Cancer in 2022. And this could manifest in a number of ways. Some of you sadly may experience the death. It could be of a marriage partner, a significant other, somebody you're in a business partnership with at this time. Or maybe the situation with an open adversary may come to an end. You might be embroiled in power struggles with a legal opponent, with an open enemy at this time. The 7th house is also can be associated with a grandparent, and you might be dealing with the death of one during this time. And not to be overly morbid or morose, but it's just important to keep in mind that death is a proponent of life, and I'm just being honest and fair as far as objective, as far as how the transit may actually manifest and be expressed. But it could also be a time where it can be where a relationship might come to an end at this time, a figurative death, a figurative obliteration at this time, and you might even be involved in Plutonian type of business partnerships at this time, and it can be something with the occult, which includes astrology, or something with insurance or taxes or recycling, or I don't know if people can have be working like an embalming or as a coroner, and that could be a partnership, business partnership. But if so, that could be a possibility at this time. And it might be a time too where this could be an important transit as far as support goes from a marriage partner or significant other at this time. And you may be dealing with more power struggles with the marriage. There may be power struggles with the marriage partner, or you may simply be bringing a lot more passion into the relationships at this time. A relationship may also have a very transforming effect on your life during this time. Now, those of you that have a very late Cancer ascendant, some of you may have that have the transit in the 6th house, so it's an important time as far as health goes. For the zodiac sign Cancer, it can be some health related issues associated with the colon, the prostate, the bladder, or the reproductive system. And it might be something where remember that Pluto is also about surgery, and it could be where there may be surgery that is associated, the knees, the bones, joints, hamstrings at this time. And you might even be involved in might be dealing with power struggles at your place of employment at this time as well, or trying to transform yourself through perhaps a new diet or health regime at this time. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.